I want to call this recess meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order. Roll call, please, Heather.
Alderman Lee.
Here.
Alderman Foreman.
Yes.
Alderman Wilkins.
Present.
Alderman Volrath. Here. Alderman Ward.
Here.
Alderman Magley.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum this evening. Official business can take place. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Open the floor for comments from citizens. Seeing none, close the comments from citizens. Closed meeting. Need someone to read the motion for closed session?
I'll do that.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we go into closed session for the purpose of such closed session and possibly closed vote, as provided under section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri for legal actions, causes of actions, or litigation involving public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communications between the public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys in preparation and including any discussions or work product on behalf of the city of Centralia or its representatives for negotiation with the employee group under section 610.021(9) of the revised statutes of Missouri.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we go into closed session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, please, Heather.
Alderman Lee.
Yes.
Alderman Foreman.
Yes.
Alderman Wilkins.
4.
Alderman Volrath. Yes. Alderman Ward.
Yes.
Alderman Magley.
Yes.
All right, by your vote, we are now in closed session. All right. Action agenda. Legal, this is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to provide legal services for the city of Centralia in the case of Kevin Pringer et al. Versus Lacrosse Lumber et al. This is an ordinance, requires 2 readings. Alderman Lee, would you introduce this one, please?
Sure, a cheat sheet. Bill number?
2735.
I move that bill number 2735 be given its first reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2735 be given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
Bill to create an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute an agreement with the Jefferson City, Missouri law firm of Bryden, Swearingen in England to represent the city of Centralia, Missouri in the case of Kevin Pringer et al. Versus Lacrosse Lumber Company et al. And setting the rate of compensation for said special legal counsel. I move that bill number 2735 be given its second reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2735 be given its second reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute an agreement with the Jefferson City, Missouri law firm of Bryden, Swearingen in England to represent the city of Centralia, Missouri in the case of Kevin Pringer et al. Versus Lacrosse Lumber et al. And setting the rate of compensation for said special legal counsel. I move that bill number 2735 be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2735 be adopted by a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Foreman.
Yes.
Alderman Lee.
Yes.
Alderman Magley.
Yes.
Alderman Volrath.
Yes.
Alderman Ward.
Yes.
Alderman Wilkins.
4.
All right, by your vote, bill number 2735 passes and now becomes ordinance number
2795.
And just for the we looked at 3 different lawyers. We talked about this Diana Carter of the law firm mentioned in this ordinance was the best of the three that we thought for the case. So that's why we brought it forward.
Yes, sir.
For my readers, why are you hiring a law firm instead of using your city attorney to represent you?
Well, the type of law, the case is an inverse condemnation case. They are not that common, and they require, it's a specific
More
branch
specialized,
of
yeah.
law, and particularly land use law, which although mayor could probably do, we'd probably be better to do get somebody who does that as a regular basis in a litigation setting. Is that fair, Mayor?
Yes, and I would,
Without having-
it would be something that there would be extra compensation that would be due me in addition, as well as this. I think what Matt said is good. And the fact is our insurance carrier does not cover this type of lawsuit. Most times we will try to use our insurance company, which is MoPro, but they have pointed out that they don't cover this type of matter, this type of case.
Diana Carter also has worked with the city, representing us as MoPerm's attorney in other cases. If the case were to change in some manner, where it fell under something that was covered by MoPerm, it would also be good to use somebody who's familiar with MoPerm. I don't foresee that happening, but we do have the advantage of having somebody who's worked with MoPerm. If they, for instance, added errors and something that fell under errors and omissions type of insurance, which we do have, but I don't see that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to enter into an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for Transportation Enhancement Program funds. Says the ordinance requires 2 readings.
Would you like me to give a brief introduction to this?
Well, sure.
Okay, well, this is, the agreement is included in the packet with the Missouri Department of actually the Missouri Highway and Transportation Authority, which is a part of MoDOT that takes the federal Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, which is the commission that oversees MoDOT, and with whom the agreement is specifically made. They are offering the city a portion of the federal transportation enhancement funds that the Missouri Department of Transportation has oversight over. In short, this is the money that's going to go towards the Jefferson Street sidewalk project. There's a picture of the project in the packet and a description of the grant. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to go into them. But I think we've discussed this several times before. We also need to do it at tonight's meeting because to keep on track. We will have, I think I have it also later on the agenda, how to proceed at this point. Or actually, I guess when we get down later in the meeting, we can discuss whether or not we want to, the different ways we can proceed once we accept this agreement in terms of choosing a consulting engineering firm.
Okay. Alderman Borman, would you introduce this one, please?
Sure. Bill number, please.
2736.
I move that bill number 2736 be given its first reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2736 be given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Continue, please.
A bill to create an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and city clerk of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission accepting the terms and conditions regarding transportation enhancement program funds. I move that bill number 2736 be given a second reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2736 be given its second reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
A bill to create an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and the city clerk of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute an agreement with Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission accepting the terms and conditions regarding transportation enhancement program funds. I move that bill number 2736 be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2736 be adopted by roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote, please vote.
Alderman Lee,
Yes.
Alderman Mackley,
Yes.
Alderman Volrath,
Yes.
Alderman Ward,
Yes.
Alderman Wilkins,
Four.
Alderman Borman.
Yes.
All right, by a vote, bill number 2736 passes and now becomes ordinance number.
2796.
As may rise.
Oh,
Okay,
I'll save it.
okay. We'll go to Don's meeting.
Yes. Yes. Don's meeting.
Okay.
And re-adjourn.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you.
All right, we're adjourned. Anybody need a break?
We'll see you tomorrow.
4 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just figured.
As soon as I find we're.
We should have chosen an hourly, so.
Yeah.
There we go.
Grab a soda real quick. That was
Another three?
That's what 17 was saying, there's a possibility, they said it could change. There's a possibility of another 3.
Of course, they said 2 to 4, and then they said 1 to 3, and then they said, they said all kinds of.
Judging on my porch, I'd say about 3. What's your opinion?
I quit reading.
3?
I told him to come get their job.
We're going with 3. Oh, man.
I thought that was your official job.
It was, I got tired of it.
Hey, you know what? Put over the electric barn, you can give you something to do.
I'll be all right.
Hey, new guy, guess what you get to do?
There you go.
I've just been tracking their projected minimum temperature. It's been interesting how that's been going up and down.
It really wasn't as bad out today as I thought. Not that I wanted to be out there in the snow doing
For
anything.
me, the one I'm interested in is the nighttime one because the frost line has moved up on a couple of our underground cattle watering pipes. It makes it interesting.
Oh.
I think anytime it gets below 10 degrees, it's kind of a guessing game as to.
Well, if there's snow on the ground, it kind of helps insulate that ground. If there's not snow on the ground, there's nothing you can do.
Well, you know, they weren't deep enough, but
About 14 inches.
the frost line has moved up.
Good.
At least on the snow.
All right. We're ready to call the Public Works Committee meeting and Public Utilities Committee meeting to order. Comments from citizens? We will move on. Electric Department. There is an Electric Department activity report in the packet. Does anybody have any questions or comments? It is a short one this time. Hearing no questions or comments. Next up, we have purchasing wire bids.
You wanna talk about that?
Results
You
from
want
our
me?
packets?
Yeah, skip B.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, let's do
Oh,
B that way.
demonstration of online credit card bill pay.
whole reason.
Yes.
I put that up toward the top so she could go home.
Can you all see this okay? I can turn the lights off. Yeah. We are finally getting ready to go live with our online payment system for utility bills. This is what it will look like. It's actually a link, it'll be a link on our website soon. We are working with the Scott Truman to get that set up. I wanted to kind of show it to everybody first, and then Matt and I are going to look through it, make sure all the changes that we had noted have been made, and then we will get that started. So this is what it's going to look like whenever they click on the Pay Now button. That's not on there yet. So once you get here, you'll register for an account, or you can do this quick pay option where you don't even have to have an account. You can just click on it, and this is very slow. It will just let you enter your information as long as you have your account number. This is how how wonderfully fast our internet is right now. Anyway, so as long as you have your information, you can look up your account number by your account number, your phone number, or your email address, and as long as we have any of that information linked into our billing system, it's gonna pull it up. So, if you're getting an e-bill right now, we already have that in the system, so it's gonna know to look, because it's gonna link live to our utility billing system. Yeah, I don't know if I just typed it right.
It'll tell you.
I did.
There's two S's.
So once you log in, this is the information that you're gonna see. Right, we just sent utility bills out, so it shows the current balance due. If I have auto pay options, it's just gonna be a quick snapshot on this first page. Customers have the option to, once you create an online profile, you can manage your online profile here. This does not link directly to our utility billing system, but these account settings down in this section do. So if I went and changed my mailing address, it's gonna automatically update in our utility billing system in real time. Contact info is the same way. I can change my billing preference. I can enroll in auto payments, which is directly withdrawn from my utility account. What I wanted to look, one of the changes that we made here the other day was that here we added this at the bottom to say if you're moving and you want to request a termination of service, you're going to have to go up here to the services tab to do that. If you change your address, it doesn't automatically create a termination of service. But they do have the option to transfer services, terminate services, request a service call, any of those things directly from the website. And it's not going to do any of this automatically into the billing system, so if they're transferring services, it's not just going to go ahead and create a work order. It's going to send us an email, and then we actually have to generate that information. So if we have questions, we can ask them, things like that.
Right. That way somebody can't just change their service address without us knowing about it.
Right. So you can look at any of your billing information, your current bill, account history, payment history, things like that. I like this usage history a lot. We track, of course, usage for electric and water. So it's going to pull your most recent 12 months. And again, it's real live time from our utility billing system. And then it also gives you a graph here so you can see what your peak months are. And that's electric. And from the drop-down box, you can select water. And then it'll update it with your gallons.
I'm assuming that I can't access anybody but my own account because of the password.
Right,
Okay.
right. Once you
And
create an
account
account.
number, yeah.
Now, if you, for some, like, just say you have a couple of locations under your name, your account number is tied to your customer, so your information. So you could have 3 different locations in the city, but it's all under one account number. So you could get the history here if you had, if you had more locations, it would give you those options. So you could look at your home and your business, or if you have a business and your home and a rental house or something like that. You can look at each of those, and it's all and should be under one account. So
The electric barn's set up that way. I
Yeah.
looked at it the other day and it had the electric barn plus then different street lights that we meter. They
Yeah.
were all under that drop-down menu. And I could look at the history of those 4 different things in that case.
Yep. And it's pretty neat. Now, here's the online payment. Now, you can sign up for an account just to see your history. You never have to make an online payment. It's free service. And if you do choose to do an online payment, you can do it through a debit or credit card. And then payments are actually processed through a third-party server. There is a convenience fee added, but the city does not have, the city never sees any of your credit card information. It's all taken care of by our utility billing software and then the Bluefin payment processing company. So they are the ones that actually charge the convenience fee to use that service, and it's 30%. They added it right here, that it's automatically going to be added. I'll take you there just to show you. But so if I wanted to pay online, I'd have to pay that additional 3%, and then it adds it right there, an online processing fee. Now, whenever you go to confirm, and this is where you're actually going to enter your credit card information, it will pull up a completely different screen, and this is where that Bluefin processing company takes over. And none of the credit card information is ever stored within our billing system. We never see anyone's information. All we see is the payment where it's automatically processed in the billing system.
But if they get hacked, the city will get calls.
Yes, Yes.
And so the processing fee goes to the
Third party.
Right, we never see it. We get the entire amount of the bill. There's no, any percentage taken off of that, and then the CUSI and Bluefin are the ones that get the 3%.
So you can sign up to go on here just to look at your history and everything though, just
Does
for
cost
you
you.
to do that.
Right,
Okay.
like if you do online bill pay through your bank and you just want the amount, you can sign up and look at how much your bill is. Just Dave said he did that the
That's
other
what I
day.
did.
Oh,
That's right. Well, in the history, to me,
Yeah, you can. I thought I sent you the link, but I can resend it. So, anyway, that's it in a nutshell. It's got a lot of really cool features. We thought it looked really good, and this is live. I actually processed a payment the other day, and it went right to my account, and just immediately.
Just credit or debit is the only way of paying.
Yes, I thought it was going to be e-check also, but it looks like it only gives you the option for credit or debit cards.
Sure.
So,
No PayPal.
no PayPal. You guys have any questions? No? Yes.
Yeah, Bitcoin would be the good one.
Did you say that your account history stuff was free, but the service fee was only involved when you were using the system to pay?
Yes, yes.
And what was the name of the other company besides Bluefin Processing? We got to see the credit card information.
CUSI is actually the company that does our utility billing software. So they have partnered with the Bluefin processing company for the payments. But CUSI has created this payment portal for us. They actually made it look like our website, full our history. We've been with them since 2008. That's when we transferred over to the utility billing software.
Thank you.
You guys have anything? No? Okay. I guess I'll make
Just, we've been talking about doing this for a while, and we were basically ready to go live with this in November, and then we decided that we wanted to change internet providers. So Heather could have rolled this out several months ago for everything, and some other people hadn't gotten their way. Myself
Okay.
included.
All right. Next up, if we're done with that, next up is purchasing. Now we have the wire bids.
that's why I did.
You're welcome to say Heather. You're welcome to say.
We have 4 bids ranging from about $9,600, no, $9,800 some dollars to $79.85
Yeah,
for the wire.
Maybe if you scroll down, it should be actually 7.
Oh, there's, okay, there's
Yeah,
another 2
Because there's
bids.
another that wouldn't, if you want to print it out, it doesn't fit on there, so I dropped it down below. But for 5,000 feet of just underground primary wire, the majority of this will be used in Cobblestone Lake Estates Phase 3. So,
All right.
Arkansas Electric has a low bid,
Do I hear a motion?
and yes, we could go ahead tonight because sometimes metals escalate and things, and so the quicker we order, the less chance we take of the price accidentally going up on us.
That's just about a mile.
Hmm?
5,000 feet.
Yes.
It's almost a mile.
Just under a mile.
Yeah.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Yes?
Second.
Okay. I hear, what are we moving?
Arkansas Electric.
Oh,
I
okay.
was gonna say. Yeah.
I thought I'd clarify that.
Yeah.
Okay.
$79.85.
We have a motion and a second to accept the bid from Arkansas Electric in the amount of $7,985. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. Pole attachment agreement with Ameren. They won't put their gas up on our power pole?
Yeah, they're going over aerial gas line.
Yeah, yes, Scott Mueller, actually, okay, it gets more complicated. Scott Mueller, who actually works for Landis Gear, has been working, they read the meters for Ameren gas, but I thought it'd be easier to put Ameren gas in the title. They've been trying to install, he's gone through the city trying to determine where the best places to put collectors for remote read meters. He's found 5 or more locations. He's had 5 that he thinks might work, depending upon the background interference with cell phones, et cetera, et cetera. we've been working on the basics of a deal for a draft agreement for pole attachments, and we've come to the price of $11.31 per month per collector. This is not no, most of our pole attachment agreements are for wire. These would be, sorry, these would be little boxes about as big as a pizza box and about, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how
3
big,
big
but,
boxes.
you know, probably not a very big box.
Not
It'll have
really.
a radio receiver and transmitter in it.
Right.
To be able to collect the gas meters in the area and then send it on to another
They
location.
collect the radio reads from a bunch of different meters and then send that onto a tower and onto, I assume they're going by tower. They could be backhauling by cable, but I assume they're doing it.
Cell tower.
In fact, I know they're doing it by
So-
cell.
We're gonna do about 5 poles.
That's their first, they need it, we need our approval.
Right.
We have I think it's 5, I think up to 20 in the agreement. So the 1131, it was not completely random. They will be using a small amount of electric. We've decided it's not worth it to invest in a meter for each one of those because we're convinced that these are not going to use enough electricity to warrant actually metering them. So we're going to charge them the base meter fee plus the amount we charge the telephone company for each pole attachment.
We're gonna get rich off of this.
Oh yeah.
11 poles at $11 a piece,
Yeah.
or 20 poles up to
Yeah, we
$20.
Up to.
We might be able to buy
Couple of
780 feet of wire a year. But it is, and then their language in there. We would do the actual connection to our 120 on the pole, and then they would put their machine up and we'd plug it in basically. There's language in there to say that they'll provide us with insurance if they and hold us harmless and name us as additional insured and catch us before we fall or whatever.
Okay.
So the full agreement will be brought back before the council at the next. I'm sorry, when the committee meets as the board of aldermen.
Okay.
When you have your board of aldermen hats on.
Okay.
And that's, unless there's other information you'd like, that's how I would plan to proceed. Did I get anything right there?
Yeah, very much so, yes.
Sounds good.
All right.
I was wondering about hanging gas lines from the power pole. Okay, next up, boring for electric content of the railroad tracks update.
We come back to this old boring topic.
Boring.
I have here in my hands, they arrived today, the permits for the, BHM and G, I'm looking at their full names, I never knew that. Barnes, Henry, Meisenheimer, and Ginn. Yeah, very good. So that cost us, I think it's gonna be right at $8,000 to obtain to get the permits to bore under the railroad tracks. While we were going through this process, I came up with the brilliant idea of, trust me, I'm being tongue-in-cheek. I'm not really patting myself on the back.
Brilliant, he said.
Idea of trying to put some fiber conduit in there, since we're drilling a hole, maybe we have an asset for ourselves or others. After, it won't fit, is basically the short and sweet of it. And even if it would fit, the only reason that we could have it under this, that we'd have to do additional, even if it could have fit here, we could only use it for our own city usage. Otherwise, it would require an entirely separate permit at a commercial rate, basically.
Of
Yeah, so, and so that killed that idea.
Just a
Okay.
wafer thin mint.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there just probably isn't physically room anyway. Did you want to get into any more of the, why don't you give them the bad news?
Well,
That's a good, that's a reasonably good.
Sure.
Right, I mean,
That's a baby under. He's a man.
well, that's
There's a
just for the
price.
permits,
Yeah,
I mean, and then you're talking, I mean, and this will get more narrowed down hopefully through the budget process, but, we're talking it thousands of dollars then to secure, the insurance that is necessary to do the job, the flagman that you'll have to hire to have on the job site, and then of course a contractor to do the boring. Like initial, what I have now, the initial fee right now that will probably go down on the boring is in the $88,000 range. But that was for when we were gonna do a couple of parallel lines. Well, they did find out that we can go with a bigger casing. So we should just be able to do one bore at 3 locations in town with one, do an 8-inch casing with a 6-inch PVC conduit through that casing. And, so that should cut down significantly on that boring price, but, I can't remember what the fee, just,
I think
the
that's
estimated
like-
fees for insurance are higher than that. I mean, the insurance, the complete permit, and, flagman, all those, fees that go along with the, just to the railroad will actually cost us more than the contractor's price to bore underneath and place the casing and conduit.
Wow.
And then, and that, just so you understand, this will only get us the casing and the conduit. And then figure, maybe like in the next budget year, budget for the wire. And then our city crew would actually then pull the wire through these conduits, terminate it, and then end up adding 2 circuits to the Wilson Street substation to get more usage out of that. Because we've got some spare breakers over there that we're not using. So we need to split the load up more. There's only 2 breakers in use right now. And then the other one would be an upgrade to what is crossing over the railroad tracks near the teardrop at the East City Park. So we would upgrade that to larger conductor to better serve that northeast part of town. And you're talking the same permits, things, it'd be less expensive to go with overhead wire, but over time, hopefully the underground will last much longer and much less susceptible to damage over time than the aerial. And everything else that goes along with it, I mean, all the permits and insurance is the same whether you go underground or overhead, so.
I found your email from the.
Yeah, that's what I can look up here
Okay.
real quick.
Yeah,
But if you've got it already up, that'd be great.
total railroad fees are $63,000, 18 for the flagman, 12 for the insurance, 33 for the permit crossing fees, and then, so total project cost would be 156, so the boring itself is like half of it.
Right.
Now, it might be, I guess you're saying it might be slightly less
Yeah, I
than.
think we can come down, one reason we've done a lot of parallel runs is because if you use a smaller size wire times 2, it's actually still cheaper than 1 run of the larger size. So, but the cost of the larger size wire in this case, I mean, it's close enough. It's only like $1.30 per foot more, but if you can cut your boring cost in half, I mean, if we did happen to go from 80 or 90,000 to 40 or 45, I mean, that would be a much greater savings than the $1.30 per foot. So, we're kind of looking at it that way now.
So if we work overhead, we have to have permits every time we work overhead. If we work underground, we don't have to have permits to pull the wire, or you still have to have a permit for that also?
Well, I have to look into that. That'll be the next question. Because we'd be working outside the right of way, but we'd be pulling through the conduit that's already.
You would think,
Yeah.
common sense would say that since you're working outside the right of way and you got the permit for the casing, that you would be able to pull through it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I also know this is the railroad.
All right.
Can you do the work late? Can you do the work late at night?
In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Burn all white.
That will be my question
with
to the
reflective
engineer.
stripes, everything's get hit.
Yes.
I will,
Yeah.
pose that question to the engineer to double check on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it does sort of make sense, and there are nice things about being underground. We do not have to worry about, Yeah, power lines being torn up with a windstorm or anything.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Any other under electric?
You forgot F.
Yeah, I think there's
Oh, long-term power, just minor things. I'm trying to hurry this up.
do you have plans? The football games are
Long-term
all
power, RFP, and sale of capacity.
We recorded the Super Bowl.
Yes. I'm interested in finding out at the end of the,
you don't need to watch the fourth quarter, nothing happens.
Pittsburgh wins.
The city in its, during our discussions with Bob Harbor and the other cities, the question was raised, now that Prairie State is on and operational, can we sell our capacity? We own rights to, and I'm not going to get into too many acronyms or anything, but we own rights to the, you have to buy capacity so that you know that you have enough power out there somewhere in the grid to supply you electricity on your highest use day. So we buy capacity of up to 11 megawatts. We've never been over 9.7 megawatts, so in our next contract, at least for the first couple of years, we're looking at 10 megawatts. That was for our, we could change that between now and when we sign a contract. But anyway, we own 2 megawatts of the Prairie State plant in Illinois. We can't actually use that power because it doesn't come back here easily, but we still own it, and because it touches the grid, we can count that as capacity. And if you want me to like baffle you with acronyms, you can talk about MISO and FTRs and a bunch of other stuff. But basically, we have rights to that power, and it goes into the grid and comes back over here. Before this year, that wasn't worth anything because the plant wasn't running. Now it's running, and it has been rated. In other words, we don't get credit for the full 2 megawatts because it doesn't run all the time. But it has been running sufficiently that we have credit for 1.6 megawatts. We can use in the next 2 years a very small sliver of that to make up for a change in the policy that says instead of having a 6% buffer on top of our 11 megawatts, it now has to be 7 megawatts. So at the next meeting, we will have there's 2 letters we need to sign that say that it's okay for us to vacate our current 3-year agreement and sign an agreement with Ameren to give them 0.121 megawatts of Prairie State to cover the additional over coverage that they have to have. Since they're supplying us power, they have they have a full requirements contract, they have to go out and make sure they have that. So they're going to charge us $8,000 over the next 2 years for that. There's going to be an additional $8,000 transmission cost to cover that buffer, that 7% buffer. So that leaves us with 1.4 something megawatts, which we can market. We have an offer after a long bunch of negotiating back and forth. We have an offer right now from the Energy Authority to purchase the requirements, purchase that capacity, which we were not given credit for in our contract with Ameren. That we purchase that capacity at $1.45 per kilowatt per month. So we have 1.48 megawatts times 1.45. It's about 1.5 megawatts times 1.45 or probably $1,450 times 12 months. So it comes out to somewhere around $26,000. And that's just found money.
Okay.
So that, we'll have an agreement to do that also at the next council meeting. And then,
How's that compared to what we buy?
we
Just out of curiosity.
spend a couple hundred, really close to, spend about $2 million a year total cost of energy.
No, I mean,
Capacity, everything.
on a per kilowatt basis or whatever. How much are we selling it for versus how much are we buying it for?
Well, it's capacity, so it's not,
Oh,
it's, our bill for Prairie State each month is about, it's about a month it's about a month of our cost to help build Prairie State. So we're not getting rich,
right.
but we're, you know,
We found a little bit.
it's an aspirin for the pain.
Okay.
So, how's that? It's a bit of a bite back, a little bit back. And our energy rate is going down because of the contract. So from 43, I better not, I'll mess it up. But like $2 a megawatt hour, thank you. $2 a megawatt hour. That should be in our next bill, which is about a 5% reduction cost.
Okay.
But there. Okay, so that's good news. It's not amazing news, but it's good news. Sometime in October, we'll start talking about selling the other. We'll sell, putting it into the market, the capacity for June 16th through 17th. This is the capacity for May or through June 15th through 16th. So we'll have one more bite at the apple, and we kind of think that prices will get better.
Okay.
All the trends are that capacity will be more expensive.
As they start to operate more frequently, will that 1.6 rating, or that rating,
Could
1.6 out of 2, will that rise?
it could. I can't see it going much above 1.8 or 1.85 because I mean 95% is about the highest you can get.
Do that downtime for maintenance
Right. Yeah, all power plants have outages. So, but it's good news, and the plant is running. Oh shoot, I had that all. I didn't write that down before I came here, but
I think it's about 78% or.
it's yeah. If you average them together, it's 78, almost 80% now for the last 6 months. So it's getting much better. And then the next thing is still in the distant. It's still quite a ways away as to what we're going to do. MISO, or no, sorry, not MISO. MPUA has asked to make a presentation to our little group, which is called MMG, which is Hannibal, Cahokia, Marceline, California Now, and us. So they have an idea, and we may be listening to that. Maybe they've got something where we could end up with the Prairie State more integral into our package, and it might save us a little money over some of the other proposals. John Gratzinger at MPUA thinks so. Bob Harbour is not making the bets yet, so more as that develops. Yes, and I'm done.
Okay. That it on?
Yeah, you can get on the G and on with the meeting.
Water and Sewer Department, we have a activity report, which makes, was a very long one, it makes up for the short electric one.
Notice that Mark is here with the short one, and that
Yes.
Mike is not here with the long one.
I noticed that. So if you have any questions, Mike can't answer them anyway. Next up,
We'll answer for
we have chlorine bids.
Yes. We have, there are 2 bids before you. The company that we are asking you to approve, DPC Enterprises, has a lower price. We have used them in the past. We have had no problem with them in the past, but at the last time we looked, their prices were higher. than Brentag, but that has changed and now they're the lower price. So we're going to,
Do you want this tonight?
yes, please.
Do I
Because
hear a
we're gonna-
motion?
Yeah, I'm sorry?
Do I hear a motion then?
So moved. If we purchase from DPC Enterprise cylinders.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Which one do you recognize? For my notes. Or does it matter?
Either.
Okay, period.
We have a motion and a second to accept the bid for, from DPC Enterprises at the amount of 35 cents a pound or $52.50 per cylinder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up, sewer. Anything under sewer? Anything?
No, I don't.
Anything under other?
No.
Moving on. Next is Public Works. And again, we have an activity report in our packet. Phil is here to answer questions.
And if you'd like, I could hook my computer up and we could look at, I've got the, like, streets, oh, I'm sorry, activity reports first, I should be quiet.
Any questions or comments on the activity report? Streets, road project list update and discussion.
After Phil and I drove the streets of Centralia, no, this is not a song, for
Where is it?
sounds like a streets over it. For probably about 2.5 hours, looking at all the various projects. This is substantially different than the project project list we brought before you a month ago. That was basically, it was about 80% inherited, but I'm open to, I mean, I'd be happy to hear the input and change the list around as necessary. I would like to make sure we are saved the $15,000 for sidewalks. We need to save the $10,000 for the Safe Routes to Schools match. I think the Orchard Street, Lakeview to Ivy, that one was on both last month and this month. That's a price with the idea that we probably have to do 2 passes on it because it's in such bad shape now. A wedge and then an overlay on top of that, so that, you know, filling there's some significant. It's significant rutting and it's getting close to going back to rock, to be quite honest. Then there's Jefferson Street, which is a subject unto its own. We looked at it with APAC, who sells asphalt, and you know, I put that as a disclaimer, and they felt that it could be done with that we could probably get, it's right now asphalt street, basically. We had a price to reconstruct add concrete between the railroad tracks, and that was somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think it was $150,000 plus. It was pretty much a whole year's budget. Somewhere in the neighborhood of $51,500. It's a very wide street. We could do a wedge and overlay there, or basically, a milling and overlay there. I didn't put it in any year. Put it in any year, including 2015. If we decide to stay with the concrete, I'd like to go back and get a new estimate from Central Concrete. So that can be done. That is right now not budgeted in a year because I wanna know which way you guys wanna go and whether, but I mean, last month I was saying I don't think we should do that as our one project. With the building of Switzler, we got a little bit behind on our overlays.
Right.
So I prefer to do overlay. If we put that in, we'd have to take out several other streets for this year. And I can get that spreadsheet out so that we can
Well,
manipulate.
I tend to agree. I think that Switzerland, we were hoping that will all come in as one price so that we could do both Switzerland Street and Jefferson Street. That did not happen. We did have to put it off. If we did do it as a separate project, it would eat up most of the rest of the budget. And that would be almost 2 years without doing much in the way of overlays.
Right.
So I think we probably ought to do the overlays. At least that's my opinion.
I mean, we could do a little bit of asphalt work there. I mean, we did that one lane,
Right.
Yeah.
and that was just a wedge, just to fill in the ruts.
Yeah.
And that's been there for 2 years.
2 years now.
And that's all it was a wedge.
Right.
So, I mean, that's
And
holding up.
it's still holding up.
And that's holding, like I say, and that was just a thin wedge just to fill in those ruts. So we could do something a little bit better and, buy several more years, get caught up on our paving, and then go in there and decide if we want to just rip that thing
So-
completely out and start over or
But-
whatever.
But I don't see anything in here for between the railroads, is there?
That's
Yeah,
it.
it's
That's
very,
at top.
very top.
Very
Very
top.
Very
Very
top.
top.
Oh, between the tracks, okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to spend that much money on it, though?
That's
That's
just,
we're not,
that's just ours, getting rough estimates. I mean, we can get somebody up here and we can get some better estimates, do some
But
better
the
measurements.
other is holding up fairly well.
I mean, we may be able
We
to
just
just
put it off for a year. I hate putting $50,000 into that.
I'd
we-
rather put it off for a year, be my.
I mean, we could just, we could throw, a load or two on it and just try to flatten it out.
yeah.
And, cause that, what was there was probably a half a load maybe. I mean, it was just partial load left over in the truck. They just go ahead and get rid of it right there and smooth that out.
Because I would recommend doing something like that rather than dropping 50-some thousand, because if we do that, then we're putting off the widening for quite a while longer, or we would need to get our money back out of that asphalt.
Yeah.
We did seek a bid from APAC on Central Street, the cul-de-sac, which would have been, and let me see if I highlight the, well, I'll highlight that briefly. And then, so the price this year, oh, okay. The price this year was about $32,000. We added additional cost to that because would have to do some concrete work ahead of that.
Yeah.
And some prep work.
And fabric and stuff.
Oh, the fabric, that's the piece that's not, that's what the 12,000 is. What we think we'll probably do is this year, go ahead and do some concrete work with our, just out of our own money and try and fix some more of those slabs that are already coming apart. There's some building going on at the end of that cul-de-sac. It isn't probably a good time to do a lot of major repairs on that street until, or maybe 2 or 3 more years until
A lot of buildings.
right, and the heavy trucks are no longer
Right.
going down there.
Yeah.
Well, the guys at APAC, when we talked to them, they said regardless, we'd have to repair several
Right.
spots, so
Right.
we might as well repair those and see how the rest of the street holds up, and if it's gonna hold or if it's just gonna keep deteriorating, then maybe look
Yeah.
at laying a fabric and just overlaying the street
Right.
and covering it up.
I mean, the street was not built properly.
Right.
It's obvious from the way it's falling apart that it was not built. And as far as I'm concerned, that's probably partially our fault for not having inspected it and made sure that it was put in properly to begin with, which we tend not to do. For the most part, we've had pretty good luck, but this is a case where the developer did not follow through and meet the standards that were required. I think maybe in the future, we need to start inspecting those and make sure that, that not only the grades, but that the depth of concrete that is required is actually installed in place.
And Phil and I have actually talked about getting one or both of us a little bit trained in how to do that as opposed to hiring. Otherwise, the other option is to hire that done and pass those costs on or eat those costs.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
the
But-
first thing to do is see if we can do it.
Well, I suspect you can. I mean, it's not that hard to do.
Oh, can. I wasn't sure you said can or cannot.
Can.
Yeah.
The biggest problem we ran into on some of that, Don, is we don't always know when sometimes they're just doing it and we find out after the fact, as you know.
Then I think that they need to, that needs to be part of our policies, that they have to call for inspections, prior to putting those in. I mean, I know that Landon's been through this, and is used to this process.
Well, yeah, I mean, when Landon was doing it.
Columbia, you gotta call, Columbia, there's an
You've gotta
inspector
call.
on the job.
There's an inspector on the job looking for it.
Mhm.
And I don't know that, we have to go through as far as that, but if we don't, we might wanna do some corings to make sure that they pour the full depth. Now, most people, I don't think
And
they have
test
any
them.
problem with.
Test cylinders wouldn't hurt.
Yes, test cylinders wouldn't hurt either. Because I don't know whether it's poor concrete or lack of depth, my guess is probably lack of depth more than the,
You know, and that, I can tell you, you know, this summer when we go there and cut out some big sections, it's how thick it really is.
Right. But I know that that wasn't put into grade either, because I checked one section of it for one of the, people out there, and it was dead flat for about 150 feet.
And I had asked APAC about that, if that's something, when we overlay, if we could fill that curve, and they said
There's very little you can do about it.
yeah, he said, the best thing would be to mill out from that curve, that seam, mill it out, and then just pave it to there, and leave that curve, and just hope for the best of the way, you know, it's drains a little bit, it holds some water, but it's,
But if it comes down to it, I don't know whether Landon's got time, but I certainly would make the time to work with you guys to teach you how to check those grades. I know how to do it. I've done it before.
Okay. Hey, love it. Maybe some Saturday.
But I mean, I think it's something that we need to consider because,
Yeah.
And we might as well start right out there at Cobblestone.
you know, if we don't do it, sooner or later, we're gonna get bid again.
I agree.
And right now, we're on the hook for replacing the street, and basically, it's gonna take replacing it completely to make that street proper.
we're.
Patching we can do and things we can do in the
Yeah.
meantime,
Yeah.
but sooner or later, that's gonna be rebuilt at city expense because it was done so poorly.
Well, the best thing we can do now is replace the panels that are bad now and get them to where they need to be, and then replace the panels as they get bad,
Yeah.
instead of tearing it all out and redoing it.
But, you know, it's not in proper grade, so you're not getting drainage in there, and that's not helping the subbase either.
You know, and.
Is that tar? Is that street tar?
No, it's.
No, it's not
concrete.
It's concrete.
I mean, the correct saw cuts, are they tar? That would help a bunch if we tarred it.
Yes.
Well,
Then the moisture wouldn't get down in the subgrade.
I don't know right now.
But my guess is there's enough cracks in the streets, not
Yeah,
gonna make a whole lot of difference.
Well, that's true, but now that, you know, if you do a big section of panels,
Yeah.
go ahead and tar them, and then,
yeah, that would definitely help. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, several of those sections, the concrete is literally just deteriorating down to nothing.
And the top layer is
Yeah.
gone,
Yeah.
rock.
So, I mean, I don't know
I bet it's
what
not that
exactly, I
thick.
don't know, just.
I mean, I'd like to hold the developer responsible for it, but under the way that we've got it set up, they had responsibility for a year, and we didn't have a problem up till then.
No, we really didn't for several years. I mean,
Yeah.
and then it has finally gone, just gone to heck.
Especially within the last couple of years.
But anyway, I didn't mean to get too far off in the weeds on Central Street, but that's one we do not have for next year. One reason we don't have it for next year is we want to do exactly what Landon was saying, what you were saying, fix those problems next year, and then look at the 2017 budget, the summer of 2016.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're not gonna fix the drainage, why?
Well, for Central Street, I don't. One possible way that we could make it a little better is if we get the concrete, that concrete base even-ish. Come in with a, I don't know if we do if we'd score it or wedge it or
No,
and then put the mat
they
down.
just put a fabric down and just
Okay.
overlay.
Just put a fabric down.
But that's not
over
gonna
that.
fix the drainage in the curb.
Right.
Well, I mean,
that'll still.
We could put a little bit of a little bit of a ridge,
Yeah.
and then leave make a sort of an ersatz gutter with leaving the roll curb there. But if you leave weren't they talking about leaving the
They
asphalt
would
a little
mill, they
short?
would mill a
Yeah.
joint along there and
Yeah.
not fill in the gutter with asphalt.
Right. Now,
If
the
we
whole
did
problem though is
something
the
like
whole rise and run isn't very
Yeah.
big, so you still have puddles in the gutter in some places unless you did some major reworking of the
Or you'd have to
Yeah.
tear out the
Yeah.
curb gutter and redo it. I mean,
Right.
that's the only way you're gonna fix with the drainage out there.
100 foot of it, or more than
Well,
that?
I know that, I checked 150 foot of it, and there was less than a tenth of a foot of fall in that 150 foot. Which is well below what our standard is.
Yeah.
Basically, there's one inlet in the cul-de-sac,
Uh-huh.
and then there's two inlets in that first curve. And
I don't know whether they didn't pay any attention to the grades at all, or whether,
it's pretty much.
or what happened, but it was not put in properly. It was extremely poorly done.
It's certainly a mess.
Yeah.
But again, so that is not, we're not suggesting putting that in the project list.
But to start with, we'll
Yeah.
get all the panels that we can.
The ones that we do have in here, Columbia Switzler to Highway 22, relatively highly traveled piece of road, and we've had complaints on that. Jefferson Highway 22 to Wiggum, we did Wiggum, we've done a lot of the area up there. We have a road condition of 4. That's, another, that's probably, it'd be nice to finish off that area. Southgate, I think that was on the original list also. Allen to Jefferson is
So the higher the number, the worse the street is?
No.
the better.
The better.
So the
Okay.
one, like North Street,
Yeah.
is, or I'm sorry, it's a road condition of 1. I don't know if that might be I don't know if North Street is quite that bad, but it's in pretty bad shape. And we did a tiny piece of it last time. That's what's left. We did, right, Phil, we started, that was where we ran out.
We had a couple roads left over, and we
Yeah.
basically just wedged them out on
Right.
there.
Pioneer's a very low traffic road, but it's in really bad shape.
It's probably the reason why it's a low traveled road.
No, it's a cul-de-sac.
It's a cul-de-sac, yeah. And it's about like Orchard Street, you can go down Orchard, it's that bad.
Fairview kind of completes a set of streets, and it's also right over by Ivy, right over by Orchard. We did Wesley last year, so it kind of finishes off that group. And Wiggum goes along with the Jefferson from Highway 22 to Wiggum. And then North Jefferson, from the railroad to Southgate, it should probably, no, I guess that's going south to north, I feel. That's in pretty rough shape and a very highly traveled part of the road. What I'd like to do when we get through, if I ever get around to it, the comprehensive plan is to kind of come up with those those collector streets, and come up with a standard by which we try and do those by 5 when they get to road condition of 5 or 4. And then a street like Pioneer, if it gets down to a 3 or a 2, that's not good, but it's more acceptable than. So we kind of have a hierarchy of roads that we look for to take care of first. We kind of do it. It might make it easier for the board or this committee to choose streets if we had a set. We look at those streets each year and see which ones are in the worst condition of the main collector streets. But
Well, speaking of that, it might be worthwhile for us to look at seeing about getting a summer intern, from, MU. Similar to what we did, what we had last year, only be able to better utilize him. Some of this information could be put into our GIS, and, where it would be available, to us. I realize this spreadsheet is good, but it sure be nice to put it in our GIS where everything else is also. And that's something that we might be able to get a summer intern to do.
And then,
But
be able to,
we have to be looking at doing that fairly quickly, getting that out there. Otherwise, all those people will have their internships lined up.
okay. We have, the only caveat to that is, it's something we need to continue doing every year.
Right. Yes.
And we have,
But I think that keeping it up would be easier than just trying to get it in there to start with.
The initial build, yeah.
oh, I see, getting it into the GIS system.
Right.
That's true, that's true. We also need to revisit last year's, but that's not for this meeting. It's the part that we added last year for emergency response, that's not getting that one, but that somehow flipped, so. don't
But I'm not sure that it got completed either, did it?
We got a lot of data in, the
Right.
transfer, we caught a lot of fish, but we didn't teach anyone how to fish.
Right. And that's something that we might be able to complete with the intern at the
Yeah.
same time too.
That's possible, that's possible. But, okay, so those are the streets after it wasn't a 3-hour tour, but it was 2.5 hours.
And we made it back.
We made it back, so that's.
So those are the streets for 2015 is the ones that you recommend?
Those are the ones
That's our suggestions, I mean, if y'all wanna look at them and
I haven't been on all of them, but I know enough about them that I'm satisfied with the list. And I certainly think that some of our major streets, we want to make sure that they stay in decent shape.
Right.
well, I think in a couple of years, we need to look at downtown milling and repaving our
Right.
entire downtown area.
And that's not even in here,
Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah.
That'll probably be a single year project.
Yes,
so-
well, that's probably gonna take a couple of years, but I had talked to Rusty Judd with APAC, and we were talking about that, and he says, you don't have to mill your entire streets, so we can do, an 8-10 foot mill from the curb out, put a little bit more crown in some of these streets. Some of them are pretty flat, and you get a little bit more crown in them, and, you can still keep your curbs, so, I mean, there's, some options, he goes.
Some of them curves are looking pretty sad.
there's a lot of things that was.
Yes, there's some that need to be
Yeah.
replaced.
I think that was one of the things we were talking about on a couple of the streets. Pioneer might have been one of them where the curbs have deteriorated pretty badly, and we even need to decide that there isn't a curb there anymore. I think that was
Yeah.
in that case, or in a lot of them, that where we need to do, before we would do the road, we need to do some curb work first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Does anybody have any questions or comments on our list? Okay, we move forward with it then.
I agree.
thank you.
Okay, next up, sanitation.
I didn't really have anything. I just note that Phil has been very entrepreneurial recently, and we usually have a scrap dealer come over and pick up our scrap, and we bid him adieu and thank you for getting rid of it. But Phil's been carrying it over to Central Metals, and I think he's netted about $1,100.
All right.
And made sure that he wasn't like taking any Mark's wire, make a profit or anything like that. So.
We took a little copper off the
No. He's typing that in. No, so it's just scrap line.
No, it
was
brilliant.
signs that
It was
were
just
not,
culverts and poles and stuff that we've been piling up for the last couple of years, and
signs that were so damaged they couldn't be refaced.
get rid of the middleman, and we just started hauling it over to Central Metals and
Can we do that with the appliances too?
We can try, they disappear faster, you can get a truckload.
Yeah.
People they're taking the old appliances?
They never mess with any of the scrap that we're piling up, but the appliances will disappear. So, I mean, we were talking about that,
Well,
we
don't
got
put
time.
the appliances with the scrap, I guess, that's what. Pretty well tells you that.
Yeah. Or make sure that we lock it up or whatever.
But, yeah, we keep the gates locked out there, but, I mean,
Some people are very.
I realize that.
Yeah.
Okay,
but they're close enough to the back gates part, probably.
We have had a couple, I don't, there's a couple, a long time ago I talked about doing an RFP on recycling, I still plan to do that. Which there's no crisis. I will mention that Ryan Enterprises gave us a call and asked us what we were planning to do because Columbia now will take 3 through 7 plastics in addition to 1 and 2.
right.
So, unless you guys are in a real hurry to stop what we're doing, my plan is to continue doing it for now, but there may be other options. I've always seen that as probably not the perfectest option, but
Yeah, the price for that just recently went up too, didn't it? For us delivering the plastic to.
It's about a year ago or so. Yeah, it's been some time back, yeah.
$350 a month for.
On the other hand,
$250 a month.
if we do it through Columbia, it may be a situation of we may have to sort the plastics. I don't know whether that would be the case or not. I don't know if they would.
Well, they do the blue bag, so they take everything together. But I don't know on the plastics. I don't know. Matt just said they just started doing all the other
3 through
ones.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
usually, and this is a real, I know I'm 10 years removed from this industry, but 3 through 7 are often used as aggregate. In other words, they melt at different temperatures, so you put them together in something where you have just like a concrete aggregate, some's solid, some's liquid, so it kind of binds together like what Gary Ryan was doing, was making these
Fence posts, parking blocks,
Yeah,
something
parking blocks.
stuff.
Yeah.
fence
So
posts.
he can use everything. He just shreds it, melts it, and
It comes out of a black
puts it in
tube.
too.
He basically takes everything with PVC,
Yes, everything that he can shred and melt. Yeah,
other than plastic bags.
yeah. They don't. Yeah.
So, in addition to that, that was actually not the point. The point was that I distracted myself. We've gotten a couple of different offers on places to go with our trash. So I might bring those back also. Are you guys interested in looking at different? We've received 2 prices that are less than what we're paying at the gate right now. They are both longer trips. One is significantly longer.
We haven't drove either one. I really to
Right.
check them, but they're
Yeah.
both a little bit longer.
I don't know how much this will keep you up at night, but both of them would take it would take our small fraction of refuse out of the solid waste management district's budget, because they'd go to a different solid waste management district, so that portion of their budget that is composed of tipping fee, ratio of the tipping fees collected in your district would diminish by an eyebrow.
Well, I'd say it's certainly worth looking at if we can save money. The question is do we save enough to make it worthwhile for the extra cost?
Right.
Right.
Trip gonna cost us more than the
Yeah.
tipping fee.
Yeah, that's what we have to really look at. See.
Yeah, I'll look at that and find out.
I guess my question to you guys is, since we don't have a contract with Columbia, how would you want me to get if some of them might want us to promise them all our trash? If it comes to that, I would think that we'd want to do some kind of really rudimentary contract or something, agreement, yeah.
I would certainly think so, and I would certainly think that at that point we should open it up to everybody.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
On that,
Columbia come up
scrap,
with better tipping fees.
Yes.
Central Metal's got them roll-offs, what do they charge for them? I mean, is that something that we could put out there at
That could be
the
a
landfill
possibility.
to put them appliances in?
Or just put anywhere all our scrap
Put
in.
all that scrap in there and then call them and they come get it?
That could be a possibility.
Cause I know they got them roll-offs.
Do they drop them in places like that? Okay.
I think they do.
Okay. Well, I can give
You
her-
might
give her
check
a call.
on that.
Okay.
That
Cause
would
how much
make it
scrap do
handy.
you usually get? I mean,
It
Is
goes
it-
in spurts. I mean, if we start doing a lot of culverts for people, I mean, we'll pile up a lot of culvert stuff. We can get a lot of, signposts and stuff. I mean, we hauled off 1 truckload of just old street signs, so I mean, we get quite a bit sometimes, just kinda depends on how it goes. Appliances we don't get that many, but I mean, they do.
there's a lot of people haul them in themselves.
I'd say
Yeah.
based on what I said, would have been 7 to 10 a month. appliances? I mean, it varies a lot,
Yeah.
but they're
But yeah,
Peak months.
I'll give
So
them
you
a call.
might check on that, I mean, just set it out there, so.
Okay, next up, storm sewer. 2016 projects.
Well, Phil and I meant to have something as elaborate as this ready for you tonight, but I didn't get it done. We actually have three, we've already talked about, the GIS, the Midland GIS, contract. We've talked about the, Miles Street ditch. And then, what was the third
I
one?
got 3 pipes to.
Oh, right.
Line.
Yeah, and then along, and it was something we haven't discussed at all, and maybe as important or more, the, Phil had a company come and take a look at lining the culverts, and they're 3-4 foot.
I've got 2 of them on down South Jefferson. Yeah, the 3 to 4 foot area.
3 to 4
Yeah.
foot diameter
Yeah.
culverts. In the long run, if we don't do anything and that culvert fails, the road would eventually.
We were looking at
Start to
lining
fall.
versus closing the Jefferson down, have to replace it,
Where are these at?
past the high school.
Right. Just
Okay.
yeah.
There's one down, there's one
Just south of high school.
on Jefferson.
Corrugated metal then?
Yeah, but they would line it, it'd be basically a concrete pipe when I got it done.
Have you gotten the bid back on that?
No, I did not get it back yet.
Okay, that's my excuse.
And then the other one is across Gano, which
Right.
also has Panhandle's pipeline runs upside.
It's in the same. It's the same drainage.
And
project,
then the
basically.
third one is the pipe that goes underneath the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And that's
Do we
about
have any
a,
idea how much we're talking about on
no,
that?
that's what we're waiting on.
Okay.
But that one's about a 6 foot culvert,
Right.
and that's not something that can be replaced there. That's something that's gonna have to be lined somehow.
Well, obviously it can be replaced, it's just,
Not-
it's not the best of ideas.
Yeah. Sure, the railroad would not be very cheap,
The fact that we have a 6 foot culvert that big now is probably our trying to get a lot of work underneath. Lining is probably going to be a lot easier than.
Right.
Wonder if that's gonna require all that same.
I'll bet it's gonna require all the
It's probably gonna
permits and
require
everything
permits
else.
and all that, too.
Well, if they're working on this side in our right of way, and they don't know we're there. There you go.
But, well, as much as I would like to see us go forward with the GIS, I think that we've made promises on the Miles Street ditch, and I think that doing these other culverts is something that's almost imperative.
I mean, do we need to do all of them, Phil, at one time, or?
The 2 Jefferson, I would say need to be done pretty soon. The bottoms are starting to go on them. I mean, I was getting the price on lining versus us shutting the street down, buying a new culvert, you know, just, and asphalt, just to see, you know, comparison price, you know, see if it's, you know, if it's comparable and we don't have to shut a street down, try to detour truck traffic and everything. It might be worth just having them do it, then that street's never closed down. But this one over here is definitely gonna have to be done, because it does have holes in the bottom of it. And it may be one we can only do 100 feet or 200 feet at a time. I don't know how expensive it's gonna be. I'm hoping to have that, I should have the price probably back next week or so, and I'll get it to you guys.
Well, if you've got it, I would sure like to see that, even at our next meeting.
Yeah, we'll get that. As soon as we get that price back, I'll get those.
We've got to determine where we're gonna spend the money on the storm sewer stuff.
Right, and we can only spend each dollar once.
Right.
And I don't want to, I know we're not trying to compete with Columbia, it's already 905, but I'm wondering if when we're talking about doing that project there, if we don't want to create something that will prevent us from eventually making that at least a 28-foot wide street someday. Or however, you know, for a collector street, it's not wide enough.
Are you talking about Jefferson?
Jefferson Street, I'm sorry, Jefferson Street. It was right here in my mind.
38 foot,
Yeah, I'm sorry,
38 foot.
38 foot would be right.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think the rest of it is, the part that's covered together now. Or somewhere in that neighborhood.
That's, you're right, you're right.
that culvert's in there is pretty close to that.
It's close to that link?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It sticks out past the road a ways. We can look at that.
Well, the question would be added on to it.
Yeah.
You can always,
Yeah.
there are things that can be done.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have as good a presentation on that as I thought I'd have
Yeah, we
on
didn't just-
Wednesday when I first drafted the agenda. I apologize for that.
Okay, so I'd say that's what we're waiting on there is for, price on what lining's gonna cost.
Yeah.
But I know I have looked at some of those culverts myself and I've
The
seen.
one I
that-
know is in really bad shape,
Yeah.
and with Panhandle right there near it, I think that would be
Major,
a good candidate to line instead of trying to open trench that one.
yeah.
That is a fairly large Panhandle line coming.
Okay. So,
Yeah, yeah.
next up, the red flag rule update.
Oh, sorry. We do this every year. We have no changes to make in our red flag rule policy. I thought it was a good time to bring it up anyway because we were talking about taking credit card payments. However, as Heather pointed out, the city would accept payment in the form of credit card, but we will not be handling, our system will never see the credit card number. It will be handled by a third party, Bluefin, and they will be responsible for the PCI card compliance and all the protections of the identity of the person who is putting their credit card information in there. And they have a good reputation. Nobody's perfect, but good reputation. And that's all I had to say is that we need to make no changes to our red flag rule. It's our annual update on it.
Okay.
Yes.
Additional budget discussion.
Say that for next week.
Can we say that for next week? It's 9 o'clock. I don't have a lot of. I think that I have been looking at the utility revenues, and they're all a little low, but nothing to be too. It's not Mark's fault, or we've had a mild year so far. We might be making up for some of that this month.
Right.
So, but it's all nothing to worry about.
All right. Any other then?
Hasn't ever arrived, so.
No other? Any estimated rise?
Yep. Went to,
You don't have to
Missouri
actually rise.
regional planning meeting last week, and, MoDOT was there as the Transportation Advisory Council, which I'm a member of. And they gave us an update of where MoDOT is with their, budget and I'm sure you've all heard about the, issues that MoDOT's having with their budget. By 2017, $325 million is all that MoDOT's gonna be receiving. That was down from $1.3 billion in 2009. So 2009 they had $1.3 billion. 2014 they were down to $700 million, and in 2017, $325 million. What does that mean? I mean they've been taking steps to, approach this number. In the last few years, they've reduced 1,100 jobs, MoDOT statewide. They closed several facilities, including our own here in town, all in the effort to try and meet this reduction in funding. So basically what they're going to do is, using that $325 million, they're going to focus mainly on 8,000 miles of Missouri's 34,000 mile road network. Those 8,000 miles is going to be basically the major roads and highways that connect cities together. Another 24,000 miles. It's,
What do they want us to do?
they wanted me to spread the word to your constituents, to the public, in an effort to get the information out there that MoDOT's not trying to, I guess I heard on the radio today that MoDOT's throwing up a big red flag because the voters failed to pass the transportation tax. Well, I was informed that they're not crying the blues right now, basically. What they're trying to do is inform the voters. As far as gas tax, they said that the legislator can only raise gas taxes without a vote of the people by 2 cents per gallon per year.
And they haven't even done that.
And they haven't even done that. That would generate $50,000 to $60,000 per mil.
No, more than that.
$50 to $60 million.
Right, probably.
Okay, which will be kind of a dent in the bucket. If the state doesn't match a certain amount of this money, then they have to give some back to the federal government, and I think what they're projecting returning to the federal government was like $140 million. So if they were able to generate money from the gas tax, they could keep a majority of that money. They just wanted me to get that information out to the citizens.
Okay, I was already aware of it.
Yep. To learn more and what action you can take, there's a website at the bottom of the page. You look at that and contact your representatives.
They're not gonna do anything good. They're not gonna do anything.
Well, that's, I have a draft map up here of what the 8,000-mile roads are in our district, what the roads are that we're focused on. The blue lines are the ones that they're talking about.
Basically, they're not going to do much maintenance on the lettered routes is what they're about.
Right.
And you gotta realize that MoDOT has one of the highest number of miles of any DOT in the country,
Right.
because we have all of these secondary roads, the lettered
Yeah.
roads that most other DOTs do not maintain. Those are county issues.
Right.
But our state legislature many years ago decided to do that, which was probably a good thing at the time. In the past, they've tried to pawn these off onto the cities and counties, and the cities and counties naturally have said,
No, thank
no,
you.
thank you. So MoDOT has been stuck with them. This is probably what's going to happen, but I don't think that our legislature will do much to solve the problem.
Well, right now, the state of Missouri ranks 46th in the nation for the revenue per mile. We're 46th. So, yeah. New Jersey is the highest, with over $12 million, $12,000 per mile.
Okay.
So,
All right, so there's not much we can do about it.
there's not much we can do about it, just kind of FYI.
Like the 3 lots of third one dynamics, you can't win, you can't get out of the game. You can't break even, you can't win, you can't break even, you can't get out of the game.
Right. Yeah.
That's the way it is.
That's why they were talking about possibly a toll road on 70 and numerous
That's
other,
not gonna pass either.
numerous other options.
So we're just screwed.
Yeah.
So you're driving on Route Z now.
You know,
Because it's gonna be a gravel road before long.
Enjoy it, enjoy it while you can.
you know what Central Street looks like?
So,
Not the concrete section.
yes.
Right.
Anything
Is,
else?
did you ever find out about the railroad, what they did with our concrete?
Oh,
tanks?
yes, I did, actually.
Yes, that's
Yes.
a good
Thank
question.
you.
I talked to Tom Kramer, and they did remove it. They, what he
Let's sell
said,
it to them.
what he said was, that, if you put the concrete in, it lasts about 12 to 15 years. The asphalt lasts about half as long, and so they tend to, because of all the vibration, et cetera, they'll put in the asphalt. The cities have to come up with at least the differential cost of the concrete, or do we have to pay the full cost? I can't remember.
I think it was a differential, but I'm not positive on that either.
And he said, that it's probably, he doesn't understand why any cities do it.
Well, I don't know why we would do it anymore,
I
I know, right?
because I don't even think it was in for 15 years. Well, I
that's-
know it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And
It might have only been there for 7 or 8.
I imagine the information might have been a little different when Lynn did it, whenever he did it, because I can't imagine that he had all that information written on that, so. There's a piece that he did, there's a piece of information somewhere that probably isn't the same as it was when we put that in. So, in other words, there's no reason to do the asphalting under the put in extra money to put concrete underneath the Jefferson tracks when they do the rehab this spring sometime.
Just tell him we're willing to forget the whole incident if he lets us drill one hole under his railroad.
Well, he's not the problem. Well, he's a part of the problem, or his railroad's a part of the problem. There's another railroad that's more of a problem,
So
which shall
you
remain.
start back here, well, way down there right there.
That's what I was thinking, you know, you far enough out.
Go down